What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. My name is Nathan, and on this planet we send it. And what we're going to be doing today is just finishing up this series of installing the attic fan. And if you have not seen part one, I'm going to go ahead and put it right here. You're going to need to see that in order to get context, because I was originally not planning to make this a two-part series, but that's where we are right now. So if you recall, on the last video, on part one, we went ahead and did the talked about the problem and did the installation, and then just kind of left it there. Well, we're going to immediately go ahead and jump in, and we're going to do some initial testing, and we're going to do some decibel readings, and I'm going to kind of talk to you about how the installation went and a few other things. All right, without further ado, I got a plan in place. Let's go ahead and send it. All right, so the installation complete. Before we get into discussing some of the installation points, I'm actually here in my sunroom, which is the room directly beneath the fan. The fan should be just right about there. And I want to run through the low, medium, and high speeds to see how loud it is. And then I'll give you sort of a voiceover on how loud I think it is. Okay, we're going to go ahead and do a reading with the fan turned off. So this is currently the fan turned off, starting now. This is the reading with the fan turned on low. And now we're doing the reading with the fan on medium. And this is the reading with the fan on high. Okay, let me give you some of the voiceover real fast on the decibel gauge. The only time I really noticed any difference, at least myself, was when it turned to high. And although I was hoping to see maybe a little bit more number deviation to show you guys the numbers, let me go ahead and give you the voiceover. So in low, couldn't hear it. Standing 6 feet beneath the fan, through the ceiling, cannot hear it. On medium, I was able to hear it. It almost sounded like air coming through a vent. It was kind of like that soft, like if you turn on the heater, or as a matter of fact, it's not even as strong as like my heater in the house. It doesn't sound that strong. But it was just a very faint sort of coming through a vent, sort of low tone. When I turned it on to high, it sounded exactly like it was. It sounded like a fan turned on high in another room, but not obnoxious. Definitely not obnoxious. As a matter of fact, if I was sleeping in my son's room, then it would probably put me to sleep because it's just the right amount of white noise. Installation was actually pretty easy. I'm going to discuss, let's see, I think I had 2 DIY lessons learned, and the first one took place during the time lapse. The second one I didn't record because it came with the Smart app. The thing that I recommend for if you're going to install one of these and the exact same model, make sure you do all your when you pair your phone, download the app and pair your phone to the machine prior to installing it in the attic. Fortunately, I'd taken down the stairs, the ladder and everything, and then went to go ahead and connect to it, and you had to press the pair button for 3 seconds, which was not in the instructions. So just remember that is my DIY lessons learned. And if you also saw that I decided not to put the things, the sort of guard around the fan to make sure all the air went out and didn't circulate back in. Unfortunately, the decision was made for me. I didn't necessarily make the decision because if you saw, I originally wanted to put it at the top, and unfortunately, the louver itself was sticking out past the wood, and so it would have been hitting the fan. So I couldn't have that, so I had to put it down to the bottom one. The good thing is by moving it to the bottom one, the wood there, although it didn't support me putting the guard around it like I would, which would be the most ideal situation, it at least held it up there while I screwed it in, and that was pretty cool. But now we're on the point to where I'm going to go ahead and run it for 2-3 days and see how much it does affect the cooling in my attic, because I actually do have a temperature gauge in my attic, and I've been monitoring over the last few years, and so now we'll see how much of a difference it makes over. Today's supposed to be a hot one in the next 3-4 days, so we'll see how it goes. I'm not going to wait for the whole heat wave to finish, but I'm at least going to get a good 2-3 days of data before I come back and finish up this video. All right, I'll see you then. All right, good evening. I went ahead and got back into my dirty clothes and hopped back up in the attic. Let me explain why. So one of the things I forgot to mention earlier in the earlier clip was when I put my hand up around the fan, I could tell I was losing efficiency because the air was sort of cycling around itself. I knew some air was exhausting, so it made me just think pretty much all day like, all right, well, let's see how it goes, but if I have to, maybe I'll just have to figure out a better way so I can install it and get the guards up, and that's where we are today. So I'll go ahead and insert a clip here. You'll see I screwed on a wood spacer to ensure that when I installed the fan wouldn't be rubbing on the louver itself. And then from that point on, I installed the top guard just to make sure I could use all of the guards in that position. And I was able to get to the top guard, the bottom guard, and then the left guard on there. But unfortunately, I couldn't get the right guard on there. So what I decided to do was, since the left side was already bolted in pretty well, I loosened all the screws up on the right side and slid the guard under there and then installed that. And then in this clip here, you can see that in addition to doing that, I also, instead of hung the controller, I mounted the controller, and I think it looks a lot more professional, so I'm very happy with that. So why did I decide to do that? Well, because maybe my expectations are wrong. Other YouTubers did say that their attic stays within 10 degrees of outside, and that's where mine was today. I feel like I could probably get a little bit better. Again, maybe I'm my expectations are too high. So today we'll see. I'm hoping to get it to 5. That's kind of where my expectation is. But again, I could be wrong. So today I ran it on the default summer setting, which is turns the fan on low at 80 degrees, medium at 90 degrees, and then 100 degrees, it turns it on to high. And so I'm going to run that. I ran that today. It stayed within 10 degrees, as we just mentioned. I'm going to run it tomorrow and see how it does. Plus tomorrow, since it'll be in fully operational all day long, we'll see how well it does. And then on Monday, what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to go ahead and run a custom setting, which turns the fan on low at 70 degrees, medium at 80 degrees, and at 90 degrees it'll go on to high. And we'll see how I can keep things hopefully cooler. Again, getting it closer to 5 vice, getting up to 10, because my hypothesis, if you kick it onto high earlier, that maybe it'll be able to keep it, since it's not letting it heat up as much, maybe it will be able to keep it closer to 5. We shall see. I could be wrong, but we'll give it a go and see what happens. All right, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Okay, so now it's time to go ahead and provide some quantitative and some qualitative review that I've been sort of monitoring it over the last week. So I'm going to go ahead and put up just a little bit over 2 weeks of data here for you guys to go ahead and follow along. So we'll just go over the columns. So what you're seeing from left to right is the date, the outside temperature, the attic, the delta between the attic and outside, the office temperature, and the office delta between outside, and then the flat delta, and then the master bedroom. So these are all the rooms that we're sort of monitoring. And I know this is only for attic, but all these rooms that I selected are on the second floor, directly beneath the attic. So in general, what I want to go ahead and highlight is basically what you'll see in red. Those are the days I do not count, because those are the days that either that was the installation day, and then the very next day we were having some work done inside the house, so all the windows were open anyways, and I was running the whole house fan, so it really wasn't that good of a reading. But however, let me go ahead and draw your attention to the orange row, where it has 83.3 degrees on the outside temperature. Above the red, it was an 18 degree delta in the attic, but below the red, it was only a 13, or just under 13 degrees. So that was a 5 degree difference. And then if you go to the flat, you'll see that it was positive 0.9, but after the red, it was a negative 3.6, showing that it was able to stay cooler just beneath the attic after the installation. And then if we consider over to the flat, we have similar results. It was 0.4 above, but after the installation, it was negative 3.4. And then going over to the master bedroom, it actually stayed cooler in the master bedroom at negative 1.4. However, with the attic fan, it actually stayed at negative 5.1. I will mention that those numbers, having those great results, was because I had my custom setting set. So just as a reminder, I turn the fan on low at 70 degrees, I turn it on medium at 80, and then I turn it on high at 90. There was another one up there, if you noticed, that it was in very light tan. It was only about a 3 degree difference between outside or 3 degrees difference from what it was originally before the installation and after, and that was actually the default summer setting. So I definitely recommend creating your own custom setting for your area, because it definitely improved mine. Maybe not the 10 degrees I was hoping, or the within 5 degrees of outside temperature I was hoping for, but still. All right, so that was the quantitative review. Let's go ahead and get into the qualitative review. I absolutely can feel a difference. When you go up into the second floor now, it feels less like a sauna as it did before the installation, and not a sauna because it was like humid up there, but you could just feel the heat bouncing off of you as soon as you were walking up into the second floor up the stairs. And then by the time you get up there, you could just absolutely feel it. But now it is a lot more comfortable to where you're really not noticing much of a temperature difference between the upper and lower floor until you're all the way on the second floor. And then when you get up there, it's a lot more comfortable. So much so that before the installation, really on like when it would get into the 80s outside, I really found I couldn't take a nap in my own bedroom just because it was too warm. But now the temperature where it did get up into the 80s, I was actually able to take a nap. So that's just sort of a testament on itself. That's going to go ahead and wrap up this video. So I will say, I don't think I mentioned in the first one, but this unit cost me just under $300. I think it was like $280, $290 or something. And so for me, with the data and the way it feels, I can absolutely feel a difference. It's not significant, but it definitely makes things a lot more comfortable up there, noticeably. So I think the investment was worth it for me. Now that you've seen the numbers and you sort of got my sort of qualitative review, if you think just under $300 is worth investing, then go ahead and send it. But I will say that I'm not going to necessarily recommend it or not, because I'm going to just show you the information and you guys make that decision. But for me, I'm happy with the purchase and I'm glad I did it. It was kind of fun getting up there and installing it and everything, but overall it really does feel a little bit more comfortable up there. That radiant heat is definitely significantly less, or at least noticeably less, and I'll just leave it at that. But anyways, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you on the next one.